When Blizzard announced Diablo Immortal, they failed on two fronts. The first one was the timing and setting of the announcement. They should have known that an event intended for hardcore Blizzard fans and PC gamers would not be the best time or place to make a mobile Diablo game the centerpiece of their presentation. The analogy I like to use is that it's like paying for a steak dinner during an annual trip to your favorite restaurant, only to get cauliflower steak instead, with the restaurant insisting that it's still technically steak. I think anyone in that situation would bluntly ask if this is all some kind of joke. The other thing the company failed on was messaging and communication during and following the presentation. I don't have to explain how out of touch it was on Blizzard's part to ask the booing PC gamer audience if they don't all have phones as a means to justify the untimely announcement of Diablo Immortal. It was also insufferable to watch Wyatt Chang feign excitement in such an over-the-top fashion for a mobile game when addressing a crowd that clearly had zero interest in what was being shown.
We want to use mobile devices as the platform for a new Diablo game, because nothing brings a family together like slaying demons. Diablo Immortal. We are so excited about this game.
Now, you would think that after everything that's happened, Blizzard would at least take some time to address the millions of dedicated and disappointed fans in a more direct fashion, posting a message or publishing a video acknowledging the community's anger, admitting that they messed up with their handling of this year's BlizzCon, and explaining how they plan to avoid situations like this down the line, or something of that nature would have gone a long way. For 1 second, you'd think they'd drop the constant promotion of mobile games to set the record straight for the audience they completely neglected. But nope, what we got instead was Blizzard tripling down on the notion that mobile is going to become a very big focus for the studio moving forward. The following information comes from a Q&A panel that Blizzard participated in with media outlets following their Diablo Immortal announcement. This particular video was uploaded by a Korean YouTuber, and among the topics that was discussed was Blizzard's thoughts on the mobile platform. Blizzard co-founder Alan Adam in particular spoke extensively about this topic, and what he had to say was not something Blizzard fans and enthusiasts hoped to hear after that embarrassing BlizzCon 2018 performance. Here's what Adam had to say on the topic.
In terms of Blizzard's approach to mobile gaming, many of us over the last few years have shifted from playing primarily desktop to playing many hours on mobile. And we have many of our best developers now working on new mobile titles across all of our IPs. Some of them are with external partners like Diablo Immortal. Many of them are being developed internally only, and we'll have information to share on those in the future. I will say also that we have more new products in development today at Blizzard than we've ever had in our history, and our future is very bright.
So in that one statement, Adam emphasized that A, many of Blizzard's developers have shifted from primarily playing PC games to playing mobile titles extensively. B, that some of Blizzard's best developers are being assigned to work on mobile games at the studio, and C, that mobile games are being made for all Blizzard IPs and not just Diablo. Wow, talk about the three worst things Blizzard could have emphasized right after the outrage they instigated by showing so little consideration for their community and by being so out of touch with BlizzCon in general this year. While Blizzard developers obviously have the right to play any game on any platform they want in their own time, you can imagine how the optics of saying that members of a traditionally PC-focused game development studio playing less PC games and more mobile games right after a disastrous and misguided BlizzCon presentation might be pretty bad on its own. But as if that wasn't concerning enough, the Blizzard developers aren't just playing more mobile games now, the studio's best developers are also being pulled away from the more traditional specialty projects and assigned to these mobile games, raising questions about the kind of future the company is headed towards. It's not just the one Diablo mobile game they're working on either, they're also developing mobile outings for all Blizzard IPs as we speak, according to Adam, meaning that the resources being diverted to these mobile projects may be a lot more extensive than originally anticipated. Now, Blizzard has emphasized time and again that mobile games aren't a replacement for the games they normally make, having strongly hinted that one of the games they're currently working on is none other than the highly anticipated Diablo 4.
For our diehard PC fans, we will say though, we still have multiple Diablo teams working on multiple unannounced Diablo projects. So we haven't forgotten about them. The future is bright. Stay tuned.
But at the same time, in pursuing so many different mobile projects at once across so many IPs, one has to wonder if Blizzard is stretching itself too thin. In assigning some of their best developers to mobile games, is that adversely detracting from the development of their hallmark projects? More importantly, is Blizzard gradually starting to lose focus of their identity in favor of pursuing financially lucrative trends at the behest of its publisher Activision? If these mobile projects become immensely successful from a financial standpoint, and they most likely will through abhorrent monetization schemes, will Activision Blizzard at one point decide that this studio's time is better spent primarily on cheap, low-effort, money-milking machines that take advantage of the popularity of Blizzard brands? After BlizzCon 2018, questions like these are swirling through the minds of Blizzard fans and enthusiasts, especially with the company bafflingly thinking that making a mobile Diablo game the grand finale of their BlizzCon presentation would go well. More than anything, many felt as though Blizzard took advantage of what should have been a fan celebration event, all to make a big splash with investors and get the message out there that a highly monetizable and financially lucrative mobile Diablo game was on its way, though the unexpected level of backlash yielded the complete opposite result, with Activision Blizzard stocks having plummeted right after Diablo Immortal's announcement. And now, with Adam's latest statement about how developers at the studio are playing more mobile games than ever before, how their best talent is working on mobile games across all their IPs, all people can understandably think about is the worst-case scenario. It doesn't help that Diablo Immortal itself doesn't look particularly compelling, given how, first of all, visually, it looks like a reskin version of other cookie-cutter NetEase titles, but more importantly, some of the early impressions make it quite clear that many key aspects of what make Diablo Diablo are lost in transition to mobile, with multiple outlets citing how the game overall feels like a simplistic and dumbed-down version of Diablo 3. Making matters worse, during this media Q&A panel, Adam also talked about how the maturity level of Diablo Immortal's content would be brought down a couple notches so that people across all ages can play it.
As I understand the question, if it's about the maturity of the content, the Diablo Immortal for the mobile device is being designed so that everybody can play from all ages. And so where some of the PC products are mature rated, our goal is that this will not be mature rated.
I mean, if you're going to not only simplify and neuter Diablo's mechanics and repurpose NetEase's cookie-cutter gameplay template, but also cut down on the series' hallmark mature themes and elements, can this even be called a proper Diablo experience? Blizzard keeps emphasizing this is basically a Diablo game in your pocket, but the more details are revealed about the game, the clearer it becomes that this is just some mobile game wearing a Diablo disguise. When important elements that make up a game franchise are intentionally sacrificed for the sake of reaching a broader audience, can Activision Blizzard honestly say with a straight face that this was a creatively driven project rather than a financially driven one? The sole focus has become getting the game to as many hands as possible rather than creating a proper Diablo experience that speaks for itself. More specifically, this game seems to be primarily intended to capitalize on the growing Chinese market above all else, hence the partnership with NetEase. Now, as I've said before, in the grand scheme of things, I don't really care that this mobile Diablo game exists as long as games like Diablo 4 are still in full development. Similarly, I don't care if other Blizzard IPs get mobile versions as long as they don't come at the expense of their other flagship franchises, titles, and upcoming releases. But there is definitely some kind of paradigm shift that's taking place within the studio, with BlizzCon 2018 marking the starting point, and it's a shift that makes me very uneasy about Blizzard's direction. It all evokes the sense that a decade from now we might not be looking at the same company for all the wrong reasons. What especially troubles me is the way Blizzard seems to be giving less and less importance to its core community. There's just something really off lately about the way they're addressing fans, exploiting their anticipation, and continuously sending the wrong message, which some might interpret as early signs of a renowned studio that's losing its identity and principles to corporate whims. The Blizzard I saw on stage this year was not the Blizzard many of us knew, with their behavior edging dangerously close to the likes of EA. Now, in this media panel, Wyatt Cheng did talk a little bit about the community backlash, and he attributed the recent wave of negative feedback to healthy skepticism.
I think that we have a ton of players who are super passionate about Diablo. And, for some of them, what we announced this BlizzCon isn't what they were expecting. But we're super proud of it. But I think if it wasn't what you're expecting, you may be a bit skeptical. And I think what we see is some people who are skeptical. And I think skepticism is actually a very healthy mindset. It demonstrates, intellectual curiosity.
See, that's not really it though. It's not skepticism over the mobile game, it's anxiety over the start of this paradigm shift for Blizzard, one that's not favorable to the company's primary audience. The lack of judgment with their handling of BlizzCon and its aftermath, the gleeful emphasis on devs playing less PC games and more mobile games, the studio's best developers being reassigned to the mass production of mobile games across all Blizzard IPs. These things all together paint a picture that expresses that Blizzard is slowly but surely losing sight of who they are and what they stand for. The hope is that Blizzard will one day down the line dispel these notions and fears by giving fans proper BlizzCons and showing that they care just as much about the PC crowd as they used to before, that these mobile projects are side ventures rather than centerpieces for the studio's identity moving forward. But nothing Adam said here gives me any semblance of confidence. And when Blizzard keeps digging itself into a deeper hole with statements like the ones Adam gave to media outlets during this panel, it's hard not to feel cynical about the future of Blizzard and the adverse corporate influence Activision might be having on it. These are one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on Adam's latest statements in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.